Hi guys, it's Brittany, and welcome to a new episode of Incredible Movie Facts. And today, it's incredible facts on Mrs. Doubtfire. And you may know these facts or not, but if not, let me know. But let's get right to it. Okay, let me go here. One, the makeup of Mrs. Doubtfire took about 4.5 hours each day. And that's a long time to, you know, put makeup on. Especially because it was for this movie. So yeah, I can imagine how long it must have took. Two, the scene where Daniel knocks down the prosthetic mask, I'm sorry, goes flying out the window on the street required over 50 takes. Yeah, 50 takes. Wow, I don't see how it could take so many. Maybe because they want to get it right, like how destroyed it looked by the tires, by the truck. I don't know. I'm guessing maybe that, or they had a different idea how it should fly out the window. I don't know. 3. Tim Allen was offered the roles of both Mrs. Doubtfire, Daniel Hillard, and Stu Denmeyer. Allen rejected both. Now, I want to say it's a good thing he did because, first of all, who could do both of those roles any better than those two actors? Pierce Bronson as Stu and Robin Williams as Daniel Hillard and Mrs. Doubtfire. So it was a good thing he just, he turned down the roles at the time because everything happens for a reason. 4. In real life, Robin Williams divorced his wife in order to marry his nanny. In the film, his wife divorced him and becomes her nanny. Wow, now that's quite interesting. Yeah, I wanted to say in real life, that does happen. I can't think an example at the moment, but that just happens where something has been done to you, but yet somehow it kind of switches around in a way, like it turns around. I can't really think of an example at the moment. I can't, but that's wow. Just wow. I don't know what to say about that. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a switch because in real life he divorced his wife to marry his nanny, but in the movie, like I said, that his character gets divorced by his wife and he becomes her nanny. Wow. Like I said, I don't know what else to say except wow on that. Okay, 5. Scenes were shot between 15 to 22 times because Robin Williams wasn't satisfied until he had the scene worked out of his system. I think in a way that was probably a good thing because I think he felt that whichever he did, he wanted to get it right or wanted to do it in his own way, and that maybe one of those scenes ended up in the film. So yeah, 15 to 22 times. Wow, that's like a lot of takes, just a lot. 6. During the restaurant scene when Mrs. Doubtfire's teeth fell into the glass of wine, the cast didn't know Robin Williams would do that, and the reactions on film were genuine, mirroring the shock of the crew. Now that I did not know. Somehow I thought maybe it was probably a blooper, done by mistake. You know, Somehow I probably thought of that, or maybe I thought it was just part of the script. But it wasn't. It wasn't part of the script. It wasn't something that was just done out of nowhere, you know, like an outtake, and they decided to put it in there. Or it could have been an outtake. Maybe he wasn't expecting to do that, or maybe he did. I don't know, but either way, it happened for a reason in the movie because they just kept it there. And that's just so funny. Moving on. 7. Director Chris Columbus said the movie gave a lot of women, no, yeah, gave a lot of women hope that Pierce Brosnan would walk into their lives. Now, I'm probably thinking that the kind of hope these women had, like I said, of what I just read, that, like, I don't know if they think, like, oh, like, maybe if one day if something were to happen, if I were to ever be in like a terrible situation, that he would just come into my life and just sweep me off, you know, my feet. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of women thought of that, like, fantasized about that. Well, I think it's a good thing at least it gave them hope, but um, I don't know, imagine that. I didn't even know about that. I was like, wow. But yeah, I don't think my mom even thought of that at the time because, of course, she was always working. But still, okay, I'm gonna move on because that's just like, wow, so they really must have, you know, liked him. Not just one, but all of them did. 8. The line, "it was running by a fruiting," was improvised and ad-libbed by Robin Williams and has become a recurring gag on YouTube. That's actually a funny line. It is. Um, yeah, it was, he improvised it, which is quite interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna move on because there are more facts to know. I'm sorry, where was I? 9. The restaurant Bridges featured in the movie is a real Northern California restaurant. Wow, that I did not know. Because you know how in some movies, when it comes to maybe a store the characters shop at or a restaurant, like no matter where they go, it's always like something that's made up, like a made up name of the restaurant. You know how usually that'll be it, but in this case it's not. It's actually a real restaurant. You know, I would actually like to go there. But of course, I don't know where it is. I think it's actually in San Francisco. I don't know. I would really have to look that up. I don't know. Yeah, that is interesting. A real restaurant. Good to know. So in case you want to stop by and eat there, go ahead. 10. Sally Field got a cappuccino mustache on set and decided to put it in the movie. That's funny. I didn't know that. I don't know whether she planned to get a cappuccino mustache, you know, in that scene. I don't know. I don't know if it was planned, or I don't know if it was like somehow like an outtake, and maybe she thought, okay, well, since I already have this on my face, like on my lip, I might as well just put it in the movie. But either way, I think that was a good choice because, you know, things just happen. And when it happens, it's like, hey, like, yeah, okay, keep that in mind and do that again in the movie. So yeah, sometimes that happens. 11. Mrs. Doubtfire is based on a British novel, Madame Doubtfire by Anne Fine. Now that I did not know, but it's quite interesting to know that it's based off on a British novel. So, wow. 12. The movie was shot entirely in San Francisco. Wow. And I also read that the address, that was given in the movie, like how, when his ex-wife is, what is like, when she talks to this person on the phone who she thinks is somebody else, but she gives out the address, that's actually a real address in the movie. I'm not kidding, it is. And I'm pretty sure some of you know that, but in case you didn't, now you know. 13. Stu was originally scripted to be an arrogant villain, but Chris Columbus felt that it hurt the relationship with Mrs. Doubtfire. Stu was rewritten as a potential replacement for a father for the kids. Now, I'd have to say I'm glad they rewrote his character because, to be honest, who would ever want someone to come in like that all of a sudden and who seems nice, like a nice guy, but really he just turns out to be this really mean guy. Yeah, so who would ever want to see that in the movie? So I'm glad they chose not to do that with his character and for his character to be this nice guy and except he not only he's there for her because he likes her, but also he's there for her kids and he likes spending time with her and the kids. So yeah, I'm glad they went that direction and not the other way. 14. Sally Field was going through a divorce with producer Alan Grisman. I don't know if I said that right. While filming. Wow. So I would have to say pretty much in this movie both Robin Williams and Sally Field that played these characters in the movie, they were both in real life going through a divorce, but of course with different people that they were married to. So yeah, I think that's hard. So since they both went through that in real life, I think somehow, they can relate to the characters in a way. Like they can relate to them because of the fact that it's hard for them and because their characters both went through a divorce. So yeah, that's just sad. It's sad when that happens. Like a breakup or a divorce, it's like still, that's just sad. Because both people are hurting, or sometimes the person is like, I don't care, but anyway, there's more facts on here. Yeah, that's just sad. 15. Throughout the movie, Mrs. Doubtfire says the word dear 101 times. Now, I don't know if that's true, 101. Maybe you can check that out, like maybe next time if you watch it, maybe have like a little notepad and pencil, and every time Mrs. Fire, no, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I don't know how I came to say that. It completely slipped my mind. I mean, when you watch the movie again, have a notepad and pen or pencil, and when Mrs. Doubtfire, not Mrs. Fire, I'm sorry about that. Next time, when you hear her say the word dear, write it down, and whether if it might be 100, 101, or maybe past 100, like maybe 110, leave that in the comments to let me know, because yeah, it says here 101 times. but I want to do that myself. I want to like write it down to see how many times she says the word deer. But yeah, that'll be interesting to do like a little project. 16. In the same Mrs. Doubtfire is reading Stuart Little the part she reads from Chapter 1, The Drain. Okay, now you've seen the movie, Stuart Little, right? I almost said something else. Um, now, okay, to be honest, I never read the book myself. I haven't. Now, I don't know with this one, where it says, where she reads from the book, Chapter 1, The Drain, because when I think of that, that doesn't remind me of part 1, honestly. It just reminds me of part 2, because, there's a scene where he goes down the drain because he thinks that his mom's necklace somehow fell into the drain when it didn't. Yeah, so that just reminds me more of part 2 than the first one. But yeah, I think I would have to read the book itself because I don't know how different the movie is and the book. I don't know. But I just want to see how different they are. But either way, even those two movies are really good as well. Yeah, it just reminds me of that. I'm pretty sure it reminds you of that or something else. Yeah, that's interesting because I was kind of curious about that. Like, okay, what part is she reading? And now I know. Now you know. 17. The author Anne Fine of Madame Doubtfire used to walk by an old fur and jewelry store that was owned by a Madame Doubtfire. Okay, so in real life there was a Mrs. Doubtfire, except I don't know if her first name was, like how it was in the movie. I'm pretty sure she had a completely different first name. Yeah, that's interesting. So, Anne Fine, who wrote the book herself, it was based on a real life person, Madame Doubtfire. So yeah, that's quite something. 18. Robin Williams walked into a sex shop dressed as Mrs. Doubtfire to test how good the makeup was for the movie and got recognized by the cashier and said, "What are you doing here?" Now, when I read about this fact, it just really surprised me because I thought, what? Like, so in real life, he was dressed and had the makeup on of Mrs. Doubtfire and just walked into this sex shop and just walking around to see how convincing the makeup is, to see whether or not if people would recognize him or not, or they would think of him as somebody else. I'm pretty sure he did. I'm like, okay, let's see if people would recognize me, or would they just look at me and think like, okay, like I never seen her before, but they somehow they would think of him as a completely different person, and they would have no idea who it is. So I'm pretty sure. And the funny thing is, I don't know how the person working there, the cashier, I'm not sure how that he was able to recognize who it was. Yeah, I don't know how he recognized Robin Williams in the Mrs. Doubtfire whole outfit and makeup on. I mean, how? Okay, now that's a question in my mind right now that I want to know. But I don't think I'll be able to know that until, I don't know. I guess I won't know, but maybe. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's surprising. Somehow I imagine that maybe if he was dressed up as Mrs. Doubtfire, he would, casually walk into a grocery store, or maybe just something else, but a sex shop store? Like really? Okay, to be honest, to me that just seems like not a bit, just to me it just seems so awkward, like what? Why? Okay, yeah, that's just awkward. It is. Um, 19. Robin Williams' transformation into the cross-dressing nanny took about 4 to 5 hours. Okay, so that's long. Okay, think about this. Um, the makeup of Mrs. Doubtfire took about 4.5 hours, while dressing up as Mrs. Doubtfire took to 4 to 5 hours. What? Okay, that must have been like a really long day. 4.5 hours for makeup, 4 to 5 hours just to dress up in costume? What? Really? Wow, that must have been like a very long, exhausting day. I gotta say that, like, ugh, like this is taking forever. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he probably thought that, like, okay, this feels like it's taking forever. Yeah, that's really long, especially when it comes to makeup and he had to dress up, which was probably like what, maybe, I don't know exactly how long, but to me, I'm guessing to him it probably felt like maybe 20 hours? I don't know. I know I'm exaggerating here when I say 20 hours, but hey, it's like when the hours go by, it doesn't feel like 2 hours or 3 hours. It just feels somehow longer, like, ugh. So I can see how long and tired, you know, tiring that must have been, especially because you have to put on the makeup just right, and you have to make sure that when he dresses up, that maybe nothing gets torn, and it has to be done very carefully. So yeah, I can imagine how exhausting it must have been. Last but not least, 20. The hilarious scene where Mrs. Selner comes to inspect Daniel's apartment. While in the kitchen, Daniel puts his face in the cake was improvised due to the fact that the heat from the camera lights was melting the frosting off his face. Oh, I love that scene. It's so funny because he's in the kitchen. All he has is just what he has to look like a woman. I don't know what they're called, but you get what I'm saying. But then he has to have a robe over it, and he has the wig on, and yeah, he's looking around the kitchen to see, just to cover up his face. And yet he finds this really nice cake with white frosting, and since the fridge door is open and Miss Selner, Mrs. Selner can't even see him or her, um, he decides to really just put his face into the cake, and there's just frosting every, like, from here to here. It's just so funny. And I also read that instead of the cake, they were gonna use avocado, like guacamole, like an avocado mask. But then they thought if they did that, Robin Williams would just look like a green monster. Yeah, I think he would. He would kind of look like a very. He would look like an avocado Frankenstein. And I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm just saying it because if I have done that, if I had avocado on my face, I would be like, gee, I look like a green monster. So yeah, they decided not to do the avocado mask, which I'm glad they didn't, because yeah, I think that would have been maybe not quite as funny as with the cake frosting. Yeah, I think with avocado mask it would have been a little bit like, like, okay, you know, I think. But yeah, I'm glad they went with a cake instead, especially the frosting. Yeah, that's just so funny because, of course, when he does that, turns around and looks at her, of course, the way he says hello is so funny. And it's funny because it's like all of a sudden, because of the camera lights on set was just melting the frosting off of his face. Yeah, I just really love that scene because I just laugh so hard when I see that. And of course, there are other parts that make me laugh, but that part is just so funny. And that's it for today on the facts on Mrs. Doubtfire. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. And yeah, that's pretty much for today. And I'll see you next time. Bye.